When the family itself gets sick, choosing oneself ceases to be an option and becomes a way out. Do you know that American saying that blood is thicker than water? Every Thanksgiving or Christmas, we grow up hearing that family is the foundation of everything, that it is our safe haven no matter what happens. But what happens when the place that should be your refuge is exactly what is destroying your mental health? It is very hard to admit this out loud, I know. Saying that your own family harms you sounds almost like a crime, a gigantic taboo. Then you swallow your tears, get in the car, drive to your parents' or relatives' house, and pretend everything is fine, thinking the problem must be with you. But the truth is, toxicity at home is one of the most silent pains that exist. It does not come with a clear warning. It arrives wrapped in Sunday dinners, unsolicited advice, and that classic excuse that it is all for your own good. If you have ever felt exhausted just thinking about meeting certain relatives, take a deep breath. You are not crazy, and you are not alone. And it is exactly about how to break this invisible cycle that we are going to talk about now. When we talk about a toxic family, it is not a label to demonize everyone at home, nor an excuse to cancel a relative over any disagreement. It is a very practical way to describe a pattern. A relationship that repeatedly puts you down, confuses you, controls you, keeps you on high alert, and in the end makes you sick. The most treacherous detail is, many times it does not show up as obvious aggression. It shows up as concern, as advice, as I only want what's best for you, but always with a price: your freedom, your privacy, your self-esteem. And then you start wondering if you are overreacting, if you are too sensitive, if you are interpreting it wrong. But a healthy relationship does not keep you explaining yourself all the time, does not keep you walking on eggshells, and does not make you afraid to be yourself. And one important thing, recognizing that a dynamic is toxic does not mean there was never love at any moment, nor that you hate your family. It means that, as it is now, it hurts. And this is very common in the stories people tell when they talk about this topic. But how do you know if you are dealing with a toxic family dynamic, or just the normal disagreements that every family has? Pay attention to these classic signs. Do you know that relative who wants to control your every step, who invades your privacy without any ceremony, going through your things or demanding to know about your intimate life? This is a huge red flag. And the constant criticism disguised as I am just being honest. They are about your weight, about your job, about who you date, always with that tone of superiority that makes you shrink. There is also the famous subtle humiliation. It is that little joke in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner that makes everyone laugh except you. And if you complain, you still hear that you are too sensitive and do not know how to take a joke. And of course, emotional blackmail, which is the favorite sport in these environments. It is when love becomes a bargaining chip, and you are only validated if you do exactly what they want. If you have ever felt that tightness in your chest, that physical anxiety taking over just thinking about visiting your family, your body is already giving you the answer. Living in a state of alert around those who should welcome you is not normal. And all this gets even more complicated when they pull the most powerful card in the deck: guilt. The strongest card in this deck, and the hardest to escape, is guilt. Almost everyone has heard that classic phrase that freezes any attempt of you to distance yourself a little, to say no, or to live your own life. When you threaten to set a boundary, it immediately comes: after everything I have done for you, is this how you thank me? Guilt hits hard. The emotional mechanism behind this is brilliant and perverse, transforming the relationship between parents and children, or between relatives, into a financial debt, where you owe your existence, your roof, your food, your college, and the payment is eternal, and you end up a hostage, afraid of being the ungrateful one in the story. But let's agree on one thing: you did not ask to be born. The care you received was their obligation, and not a loan with abusive interest rates. We need to reframe this in our heads. Gratitude is not an eternal debt that is paid by accepting humiliation. Respect also does not mean accepting disrespect back. just because the person shares your last name. True love, healthy love, does not hurt on purpose. It does not manipulate you. It does not demand gratitude from you every step you take outside the script they wrote for you. And to understand how this guilt does not fall from the sky, but is part of a mechanism that prepared you to feel exactly this, we need to look at how these families work behind the scenes. All this is not an accident. It is not that, oh, your father or your mother woke up today and decided to pick on you. Toxic families work like a system, a very well-geared machine that needs people playing very specific roles to function. And if you are here listening to this video, it is very likely that you are the scapegoat of this story. It is that person who carries the blame for everything that goes wrong, even when you had nothing to do with the problem. If dinner was late, if the mood got heavy, if someone did not succeed in their professional life, guess whose fault it is? That is right. And, on the other hand, there is always the darling of the group, the one who never makes mistakes, the one you are always compared to, you know? That silent or spoken comparison that reminds you that you are never enough, no matter how hard you try to please, no matter how many good grades you bring, no matter how much success you have at work. And then the result is devastating. This person who serves as a lightning rod grows up, shrinking, thinking they do not deserve to be treated with dignity. That to be loved, they need to bend over backwards, crawl and apologize simply for existing. You learn that your role in the world is to absorb the chaos of others, to try to maintain a peace that, in reality, never existed. And when you realize what this dynamic does to your body and your mind, then things start to get scary. This dynamic of not being allowed to make mistakes, of always being the root of other people's problems, and of trying to eternally compensate with gratitude, directly affects what you call the I and how your body works. The anticipatory anxiety before meeting these people is not just an annoyance. Your body goes into fight or flight. That tightness in the chest, the difficulty sleeping the night before, that nervousness before calling home. This, your weakness. It is your biological system reacting to danger. Because there, you never knew which version of that person would answer or receive you. And what does this generate? A state of continuous hyper-alertness. Then you no longer trust your own judgment. You begin to abandon yourself to fit into this role of good child, hardworking relative, as if not being perfect took away your right to exist and to deserve respect. It is that chronic and silent sensation of never, under any circumstance, being good enough. This is just in your head. This is not fussiness. Living in survival mode is not normal for anyone. This constant pressure grinds you down, exhausts you, and if you do not stop, it makes you physically and emotionally sick. But there comes a time when the cup overflows, when you cannot take it anymore and realize that the price of maintaining this dynamic is too high. But there comes a time when the game changes. Maybe you have mentally rehearsed every conversation before a family gathering. Or you have already left there so emotionally destroyed that it took days to recover. And even so, you went back. After all, family is family, right? Wrong. It is in this moment of deep pain and exhaustion that the turning point happens. It is when the penny finally drops and you realize a liberating truth. Your mental health is worth more. Your peace is worth more. And above all, you are worth more. This is the moment when keeping up the appearance of a perfect and united family for others stops making sense. Because the price you are paying and sadness is too high. And then you make the most difficult decision, but also the most important of your life. The decision to choose yourself. And look, I want to make one thing very clear here. Choosing yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is pure emotional survival. It is you looking in the mirror and saying, I may even love you, but I need to love myself first. And I will no longer accept being treated as anyone's punching bag. It is at this moment that you stop expecting them to change, stop trying to fix what cannot be fixed, and accept that you cannot save those who do not want to be saved. But how do you put this into practice without causing a world war in your life? When we talk about cutting ties with family, Most people imagine a soap opera scene with slamming doors, screaming, bags packed in the middle of the night, and immediate blocking on WhatsApp, and understand the fear that this causes. It seems like the most radical and terrible thing in the world. But it does not have to be dramatic. It does not have to be angry. The only way out to survive a family that makes you sick does not necessarily mean never looking at anyone's face again. It means changing the way you expose yourself to this environment. The real way out is to put a brake on the dynamic of abuse. It can be silent, it can be gradual, it can be firm and very mature, all without hate and without revenge. First, it starts with emotional distance. You stop sharing your plans, your joys, and your weaknesses with those who use them against you. Then come clear boundaries. I will not talk about this subject. If the tone of voice goes up, I am leaving. It is you determining of how you will be treated. And in some more severe cases, the solution will indeed be physical distance. Living far away, not visiting, reducing family gatherings to a 5-minute phone call on Christmas. And that is fine. Everyone knows the level of toxicity they can or cannot endure. And look, your distancing is not an attack against them. It is a shield for you. You just want to breathe. But of course, talking is easy, right? In practice, saying no to a toxic relative requires training. In practice, setting boundaries with someone who is used to bossing your life around gives a huge butterflies in the stomach. The toxic person will not accept your no right away. They will test to see if you are serious. That is why you cannot get into debates, try to convince anyone that you are right. A boundary is not a negotiation, it is a rule of coexistence. And to help you not freeze in the moment, I brought some ready-made scripts for you to use. If they start yelling or offending you, you do not need to yell back. You just say, calmly and firmly, I will not talk to you while you are using this tone of voice. We will try again later. And you turn your back or hang up the phone. If they start demanding justifications for your life choices, this is my decision, and I am not looking for opinions at the moment, but I appreciate the concern. If it is about the time of a visit that always ends in a fight, I would love to stop by, but I only have an hour available today. I need to leave at 4 p.m. And when it is 4 p.m., get up and leave, no matter what they say. Use the broken record technique. If the person insists, you repeat exactly the same phrase, with the same calm tone of voice, without changing a comma, until they understand that the door to the discussion is closed. But prepare yourself, because the reaction to these boundaries usually comes heavy. Setting boundaries is wonderful in theory, but the moment you start protecting yourself, prepare yourself, the toxic family system will react. And the reaction is almost never pretty. When you stop being the punching bag or stop solving everyone's problems, they will miss the person they could control. And that is where the backlash, the retaliation begins. There are people in your own family who will call you ungrateful, insensitive, selfish, and even exaggerated. They will say you changed, that you became proud, you forgot where you came from, or who gave you everything in life. They will try to pull you back into the old role using the only weapon that has always worked, your guilt. But the truth is, you have not forgotten where you came from. You just learned, the hard way, that returning to a place that destroys you is not honoring your roots. It is self-sabotage. Let them talk. Those who have never experienced the burden of a toxic family will never understand what it is like to have their own identity crushed inside their home. They will judge, because it is easier to point fingers at your reaction than to take responsibility for the toxicity they caused. Remember your basic principle. Your dignity is non-negotiable. It does not matter if it is a father, mother, brother, or uncle. And a very serious warning here. If your family's reaction involves any kind of violence, threats, or real risk to your safety, do not try to solve this alone. Seek professional support, seek psychological help, and put your physical protection first, always. In the end, the family you were born into does not have to be your destiny. So, if you are going through this right now, If your heart tightens just thinking about the holidays or answering a call, I want you to know something very important. You are not alone. You are not overreacting. And you are not a monster for wanting to preserve yourself. The truth is that we romanticize the idea of family too much and forget that family is also made of people. Imperfect people, people carrying deep traumas, and, unfortunately, people who sometimes do not know how to love in a healthy way. And it is okay to recognize this. It is okay to feel pain for not having the margarine commercial family you always dreamed of. It is okay to distance yourself from those who make you sick, even if that person shares the same blood as you. This does not mean that you cannot love these people from afar. It simply means that you are prioritizing your mental health and your right to live in peace. Sometimes, the family we choose takes much better care of us than the family we inherited. Friends, life partners, even you with yourself, can be your true safe haven, and there is nothing that. Take care of yourself. Respect your boundaries. You do not need anyone's approval to live without this weight on your back, not even the approval of those who raised you. If this video made sense to you or took a weight off your shoulders, leave a comment down below. Share your story, because there are many people who need to read that they are not alone on this journey. Subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next contents about mental health and emotional liberation. Stay well, stay in peace, and see you next time.